I saw this question about marriage on X. The person asked, marriages between uneducated people last longer than educated people. Why? So let's take a look at people's responses and see how true it is. Probably we are going to learn one or two lessons from their reactions or responses. Here are the responses from the comment section. This person said, less overthinking, more simplicity, stronger value on family, not career, lower ego battles, tradition, modern freedom. They fight to stay together, not to split. Thank you. Okay, this other person said, sometimes too much education and exposure isn't a blessing, it's a burden. Steady exposure raises your taste, stretches your desire, and makes it harder to endure the little things that truly matter. That's why many marriages are shaken, not because love is absent, but because commitment is gone. Too much knowledge, in quotes, has made some couples blind to simplicity, blind to gratitude, and restless for what they think they are missing. At the end of the day, it's not about how much you know, but how much you can cherish. Oh, that's interesting. This other person said, uneducated people fight to stay in their marriage and they hardly compare their spouses to outsiders. They don't overthink things. When they have issues, they go to close relatives instead of social media to find a solution. They don't spend 12 hours on social media comparing their lives with others. Survival and building a home is their main focus. Uneducated couples don't overthink. Educated ones be googling. Is this love or trauma? After every argument. In either marriage or relationship, one person has to be the fool. Two wise people can't coexist. Most times, the table of who acts the fool changes. It's not on one person forever, but one person acts it more than the other. Because many educated folk overthink, overanalyze, and chase perfection, in quote, while the uneducated often focus on simplicity, tolerance, and endurance. Love isn't about degrees, it's about values. Less expectation, they just want to have steady income, have kids, and survive. No unnecessary pressure, no unrealistic expectations. If something great comes, they celebrate together and know it's God's blessing. No too much English to confuse each other. Okay. Education is about outsmarting everyone to get good grades and top of my class. This ideology, when transferred to marriage life, where everyone wants to be smarter than the other, it won't work. It has to do with enlightenment. This person said, I can't believe this. Okay, another person said, facts. Uneducated couples don't overthink, overanalyze, or argue over every dumb shit. Educated couples debate, ego clash, and complicate everything. Keep it simple. Focus on respect, loyalty, and patience. Brains don't fix drama. Mindset and values do. Okay. Formal education can strip wisdom, compassion, humility, and even humanity. Less is more. See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, learn no evil. Less is more. This person said, when you know too much, it becomes a problem on a long term. You won't listen. Because what comes in? Because they tend to tolerate and endure abuse. I mean, how will you know you are being abused when you don't know what that is? Wow. Okay, this person said, it's less about education and more about expectations and value. Educated folks often want more alignment and independence, so they live if unfulfilled. Less educated couple may prioritize family, endurance, and community norms. So marriages last longer, not always happier though. Okay, this person said uneducated focus on ground to check their lives. Educated people gather on social media to compare themselves with billionaires and listening to TikTok failures. This person said, when you know too much, it becomes a problem on a long term. You won't listen to each other anymore. You assume everything is working perfectly well because you are too busy to look deep to see where things are going wrong. No one would want to take responsibility for their actions. Okay, another person said, too much exposure causes damage in long run. Too much exposure on social media cause people to have unrealistic expectations and thoughts. When one person doesn't meet up the just unrealistic expectation again, the other will start thinking that they settled for less, which leads to disrespect and abuse. The more you know, the more your unrealistic desire increases. Okay, this other person said, the woman is submissive, doesn't argue or act like she knows more than the man. She's not too exposed to thinking that being a wife is slavery, doesn't see herself higher than the man, and doesn't expect too much with the I can't settle less mentality. The man believes that he is the head, does his part, and not entitled to her woman's financial support. This person said, longevity in marriage isn't about intelligence, it's about patience, compromise, and sticking together when life isn't Instagram perfect. Okay, this person simply said, money. This other person said, it has more to do with personal and communal values and upbringing than education. For example, an educated person can be disrespectful towards spouse, while an uneducated can be too respectful towards their spouse. Okay, I too know is too much among educated people than non-educated people. When I too know is too much, you will never accept that you are wrong or accept correction. You will always think you're right. This person said, they always claim to know they are right. This person said, passing 6 is not passing sense. It's not about education. It's all about maturity and sense. One can be educated but lack sense and maturity to navigate through marital waters. This person said, modern education teaches division, underlined. You are on your own through the entire process, even though you may have mentors. They teach survival of the fittest. People will get married and still have the mental that if this doesn't work out, I can't throw away all that I've worked hard for on my own. Educated people, in quotes, plan for failure and mistakes early, which sometimes backfires. This person said, because of their relatively simple mindset, which is not as exposed to the outer world as is ours, and is devoid of any complex theories and terminologies. Another person said, education teaches us to question everything, including our marriages. Sometimes ignorance really is bliss. Because there is nothing like I know my rights, women empowerment. They are too busy building and living their lives to waste time on social media comparisons. Survival and stability come first. That's why our grandparents stayed married for 50 plus years. Back then, no feminism, no I can make my own money, Men will not be allowed to marry again if they maltreated a woman, and both men and women understood their roles. Unfortunately, our worst enemy is knowledge. It can kill you when you don't have, and it can also kill you when you have it. Possibly because nothing is complicated and they operate based on norms rather than logic, though their happiness is often determined by the society they belong. Soft take maybe, but facts affirm educated couples split less. Because education comes with a lot of exposure, some good, some bad. They are not too exposed. Knowledge comes with pride no matter how much you try to suppress it. Truth is, what you don't know doesn't kill. Educated people are generally wealthier and don't need others to sustain their lifestyle. Because they're not studying all day, they actually pay attention to each other. Because they follow their hearts, not the money. Because there is no competition between them, and in this marriage, women do not look for a richer partner. Not too much English in the house. Na over sabi dey cause problem, seller. Educated people know their worth in quotes. The educated people have a perception of how they are supposed to be treated, but don't really put in the efforts that deserve such kind of treatment. So those are the ones I was able to pick and cover. See you in my next video. Bye.